If you're a PC gamer, you probably know all about the importance of a fast graphics processing unit, or GPU. Similar principle here, only this does your sound. Up for our show and tell today we have the Zoom UAC 2. If your background isn't home audio, you may identify this as a DAC. If on the other hand you're a music producer or podcaster, this would be your audio interface. And just as a fast GPU will increase your video frame rate, a fast audio interface will decrease your audio latency. Let's talk about that for a minute. Audio latency is basically the time delay between the input and a corresponding output event. A good example of an input event would be sound being captured on a microphone or an instrument being triggered with a MIDI controller. An output event would be quite simply the processed sound coming back at you from the speakers. And we're talking about a very brief round trip here. Realistically, if we can keep the delay at under 10 milliseconds or 1/100th of a second, there should be no discernible difference or time delay between the input and the output event, and that's what we want. We want that responsiveness like with a physical instrument. For the past few months, this has been my audio interface. It's the Behringer Euphoria UMC 202 HD. Great solution for the money, clear as a bell, it's just not very fast. Especially when I'm working on something with 30 or 40 channels of instruments, multiple effects per instrument getting routed every which way, and all of that flooding the interface in real time. So here's a quick demo to illustrate latency. This is the video mic that you're hearing me through, and I have it sitting down here by the pads because I want you to hear them being smacked in addition to the sound coming from the speakers. See what I'm talking about? The lag between the cause and the effect? That is latency, roughly 50 milliseconds worth. Now, granted, this is kind of an extreme example. In fact, I'm over here in the driver settings with everything cranked up to maximum stability, which also means maximum latency. And the same is true in reverse, so as you lower your latency, your interface becomes less and less stable until eventually you start hearing pops and clicks and all sorts of jitter. And this is that other extreme, now with the settings completely in favor of speed over stability, and as you can see, it is a lot more responsive, but now the sound's crackling. Huh? And just like a PC gamer finding a happy balance between frame rate and image quality, so must a music producer find a happy balance between latency and fidelity. Don't want to make the compromise? Upgrade. And this brings us right back to the UAC 2 by Zoom, which in 2015 was the first USB 3.0 audio interface on the market. This also means that the company had about 3 years to sort out any driver issues, especially with the introduction of Windows 10 that same year. Now it's 2018, and fittingly, if you look at the customer reviews on Amazon, the more recent ones praise the product while the earlier ones cite driver issues. Anyway, now I get to figure out a good place for mine since it's not going in the top rack space. That's already spoken for by something that I may review next time. And by review I mean pretty much this. I'm not really one to just recite from the box. So, why is USB 3.0 such a big deal here? Will there be a ton of data traveling to and fro? Not really. The benefit lies in the way USB 3.0 handles data packets. With 2.0, all the information is broadcast to all the USB devices, including your keyboard and mouse. Each device then has to decode this information just to figure out whether or not to respond. But with 3.0, the information is unicast or routed directly to the intended device. And the connection is full duplex, meaning that our data packets are being sent and received simultaneously, instead of taking turns like traffic along a single lane bridge. All this makes for a very fast, very stable connection. And look at that, we're all wired up. USB 3.0 from the computer to the audio interface, tentatively unbalanced line level stereo from the interface over to the mini DSP 2x4, and more unbalanced line level stereo from the DSP down to the amplifiers. Mind you, the UAC2 features balanced outputs, and the amplifiers feature balanced inputs, so guess what's next on the chopping block? In fact, the TRS Patch Cable that I use to make my interconnects is balanced. I've simply terminated the ends with RCA plugs for compatibility with the DSP. Soon enough though, these cables will wire into a Phoenix terminal block, and that'll be another video. Alright, so now let's get back to the pads, and I've loaded the same drum kit as before, plus the interface is set for a factory balance somewhere between speed and fidelity, so we're not really pushing any boundaries here. Oh man, that is just instantaneous. Roughly 3 milliseconds round trip for those of you keeping tabs. Now, granted, I'm a composer slash producer, not so much a live performer, but I still appreciate a latency-free workflow, and it seems like the UAC 2 from Zoom is able to deliver that experience for under $300, so I don't think there's really that much more to be said here, so pending any of your questions or comments, cheers!